the ideal client.
It would be someone who is absolutely solely focused on helping people or planet first.
If we completely don't understand what exactly they do, because it's that mind-blowing, for me, that is like the ideal client. And if we can use our powers of creativity to put them on a pedestal and showcase the amazing work that they do, and normally that's taking a lot of products out of the environment or less on the consumable focus. That, for me, is the ideal client. We get to learn and be naive. And when we're naive and like a child, that's when the best work comes out from us.
Packaging design should seduce, inform, and even save the planet. I'm Hernan Braverman, and this is Branderman, the podcast where I talk with experts to uncover what it actually takes to make a positive impact on consumers, the market, and society. Warning: keep this podcast out of the reach of close-minded marketers and designers. Before the interview, let me introduce my design agency.
Brands with purpose. Human, agile, honest brands that leave no one indifferent. Tridimage creates and revitalizes brands to imagine and shape the future. Tridimage, the branding and packaging design agency for bold brands.
Today I had the pleasure of speaking with Matt and Ben Lyon, the twin brothers and founders of Lyon Lyon, a design agency based in UK that has become one of the most innovative in the industry. Matt, Chief Creative Officer, and Ben, COO, founded a studio in 2013 practically from scratch, with the certainty that they wanted to create something extraordinary together. Since then they have developed a unique philosophy captured in their mantra: "We do good work for good people." Lyon Lyon specializes in working with conscious brands that seek to generate positive impact, from innovative startups to global brands. Their approach combines bold creativity with social responsibility, creating designs that not only move audiences but also contribute to leaving the planet in a happier and healthier state. In this episode, Matt and Ben share the fascinating dynamic as twin brothers running an agency, revealing how the unique connection powers their creative process. We also explore the innovative project Brands Like This, a marketplace that revolutionizes access to quality branding. Today with you, Matt and Ben Lyon. Each of us is a container of ideas, projects, and dreams. However, we can't read the label when we are inside the jar. Matt and Ben, what do you think your label says, or what would you like them to say?
I think the label from the outside, I know you're talking about the inside, but the label from the outside would be quite jazzy. Be a lot going on, lots of lectures and things. But maybe on the inside, it would have a level of like tricky depth to it. Maybe you have to read it in a certain way to really understand it. Maybe that's how I feel about myself anyway. And it's certainly quite a fun label. That's what it would say about me. And just one that really enjoys meeting people and connecting with people in the right way. That's probably spread into our company as well. So, you know, our soul has always been in Lyon Lyon. Our staff, our clients, they all feel the energy that we've got. There's like a real good, strong sort of family, fun energy, which drives for something special all the time. And I think that's probably what the label would say if we were combining the work and the personal side. For me anyway, but I'll let Matty describe his.
Yeah, I think man would probably have some kind of clever concept behind it that maybe only I understand perhaps. But yeah, I don't know, some interesting print technique or something that challenges, processes and stuff. I just love ideas that are very clever, but delivered in a very simple way. We always talk about the idea that good design is kind of like a great song, where if you can pass on a concept or an idea through design, then I think it is doing its job, whether that's for good or for inspiration or for fun or whatever that concept or idea is.
Building a brand is like a journey. It starts with defining where we are and asking ourselves where we want to go. What was the path that led you from starting practically from scratch in 2013 to founding one of UK's most innovative design agencies?
Ben and I are both from a product design background. We started with the idea that we wanted to create things that kind of carry message. So we actually started off trying to help people design and make their own products, and then us making our own products as well, like the 6 Mile pencil. But then we realized it's very difficult to make your own products, and actually branding was a more efficient way of getting that idea through. So we did start out being like very much a product and physical agency, and we still obviously do a lot of packaging and things like that, but it became the most efficient way to get these ideas out. Branding might be a quicker way to get our ideas out into the world and still have the same effect.
And how did your passion for creativity and design begin? And more specifically, how did you decide to embark on this adventure together as twin brothers?
We've always been fairly creative in terms of wanting to make things as a twosome. At the age of 9, we designed like a series of toys that we'd like to make. And we had our uncle, we somehow thought our uncle could help us make these toys, get them promoted and made into a brand. I don't know what, we did these drawings and they didn't go anywhere. But weirdly, I think like creatively, we did struggle a little bit in terms of art, like the traditional methods. And then as soon as we went into kind of college and university, I think there's probably 2 instances. One is in primary schools, we were asked to make a cereal box. So we basically made our own muesli, put it in these bags, and then we were given a net and we had to design our branding on this net. And I remember putting a lion on it to represent a lion. And that was the second to last year before going to secondary school. So I do remember thinking, God, you can just make things. The second biggest experience is being secondary school, and we were studying graphic design. We had a great teacher, and he showed us Philippe Starck's work and Alessi and the work he did with those guys. And in particular, the 2 products that stand out for me were his Juicy Salif and the Hot Berta kettle.
Yeah.
And the Hot Berta kettle in particular, just because it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's a 80s, 90s aesthetic with the bare steel and this kind of turquoise metal, bare steel sort of cone or aluminium cone. And this almost like a javelin going straight through the cone. That's the spout for the kettle in a kind of a turquoise. And it looks sensational. But then when you go to use it, because it goes on a hob, on a gas burner, the whole thing gets too hot to hold it, hence the name Hot Berta. So it's totally impractical, and it's really just a piece of art. That whole thing, for me, that somebody had made it almost an anti-design. It was designed primarily to look absolutely beautiful. So yeah, that for me was the start of ideas behind things that are made, I suppose.
I'm really fascinated by the fact that you are twin brothers running an agency together. How does this unique relationship shape your creative process and business decisions? Do you have conflicts? And if so, how do you resolve them?
It all goes back to childhood. Our mother always used to let us resolve things ourselves. We had these set of drawers where, say we'd have a fight. When you have those kinds of arguments when you forgot why you're arguing, you just need to win. You need to win the argument for some reason. So we get to that point and one of us would say, all right, okay, let's just put it to the drawers. And we would touch these massive drawers and we'd take that bad energy and push it into the drawers. That's a lot of how we run the business. Like this, the connection we've got is so strong that it can't be broken. And even if there are issues, that they resolve themselves very quickly because we've had that childhood together, which, is totally invaluable.
The ultimate thing for me is trust. We trust each other implicitly, and that is the foundation of everything, really. But it does mean we get frustrated with each other and things happen, but we resolve it very quickly, like Ben said. We bring very different types of perspectives. Matt is the Chief Creative Officer of Lyon Lyon, so his focus is solely on the creative of the business, whereas mine is now on the running of the business and sales and marketing. It's great that we've managed to change our roles because previously we were just both the creative directors and both also business owners. And it became very confusing. And now we have a much more strategic approach, which is, I'd say, a little bit more boring for me because I'm not as quite in the creative world as I would like to be, but it works for business.
Great. And how did you decide on this division of roles?
We had a mentor. He's a good friend of ours. And he said, look, I think you guys need a CEO or someone so you guys can get on with the creative work and someone else can kind of run the business.
Mm.
So I said, look, I'll take the hit. I'll do the more kind of, business-led stuff. But that has led to things like brands like these, a new sort of business opportunity, because I've been focused on the strategy rather than outputting client work with Matt.
Sure. If your agency were a landscape, what would it be and why?
I don't think it'd have any solid surface, would it? Probably.
I feel like it'd be unworldly, maybe a bit like a moon surface or something, but with lots of colour, lots of exciting things that you can find if you just discover and dig away. I think it would have a few unusual properties. Anti-gravity would be one.
Nice.
Nature's really important to us personally and as an agency. We're very planet focused and want to work with brands that can help people or planet in some way. So it'll have to be like some luscious landscape, I imagine. Perhaps the moon and the earth before humans would be a nice place to be.
The Lion verse.
In the lion verse, yeah.
Yeah. I want to go. It sounds good.
Yeah.
Your agency motto is "We do good work for good people." Can you elaborate on what this really means in practice? How do you evaluate whether the brands you collaborate with are making a positive impact on the world?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because the decision was quite simple initially to take the agency in that direction. We did have a kind of a sister agency called Undo, which is a planet positive agency, but it was also more of a platform for other people who were doing great things in the eco space and sustainable space. So we were championing like material scientists making incredible new materials or new processes or whatever, or agencies working on specific sustainable projects, as well as being a testing ground for us to, can we actually make the leap to work with brands that are zero single-use plastics, for example? And we had this big manifesto on there. You can still actually see it. It's on there now, undo.com. So yeah, the GOOOOD thing came in as us making a step into that and saying, this is our intention to work for brands that do good. I guess what it means, it's quite interesting actually, because we always question that ourselves. You might have a new client come to you that questions those morals. And I think we've realized that we should actually focus more into that and bring in some of that manifesto from Undo and be stricter with who we do and don't work with. Sometimes it's very simple. We had a disposable vape company come to us and immediately that was a no. That's very simple and easy. We've done work for past clients where, from all intents and purposes, it was a very sustainable brand, but as we were working with them, we eventually found out that where the money was coming from is not the best place. Things like that at the surface level that are very straightforward, and then when you dig. So yeah, really, like there's just an instant moral alert when we see brands that we shouldn't be working with. Very hard to judge.
How would you describe an ideal Lion Lyon client?
The ideal client
would be someone who is absolutely solely focused on helping people or planet first.
If we completely don't understand what exactly they do, because it's that mind-blowing, for me, that is like the ideal client. And if we can use our powers of creativity to put them on a pedestal and showcase the amazing work that they do, and normally that's taking a lot of products out of the environment or less on the consumable focus, that for me is the ideal client. We get to learn and be naive. And when we're naive and like a child, that's when the best work comes out from us.
To find out what a brand stands for is critical to create an unmistakable identity. What is in your discovery toolbox to find and distill the brand story that will guide your design exploration?
We've created almost like a digital process where it's quite hands-off to start with. We'll send the client effectively a kind of form. This form's designed to channel and to filter and refine and challenge. It covers the classic areas of strategy, core values, personality, audience segments, all that sort of stuff. So they've got this homework that they get on with to start with. Then we have quite a lengthy workshop, and we'll run through all of that content that they've written out, and we'll challenge it as we go through. But for me, what's the most interesting thing that kind of comes from those sessions is not what they really have put on paper. It's more kind of what comes between the lines. The secret tool really there is this feel and this sort of understanding and trying to help people just talk through certain areas of the brand and stretch their thoughts in different sections. It actually ends up as a very simple one-page document, which we call the brand brief. And it's slightly visual, but there's a lot of writing on there. And it's a one-pager just so it's super simple and super refined. Every single word on there deserves to be on this brand brief, because if you give a designer a 30-page brief, that's going to be deeply confusing. No one's going to get it. We'll look at a creative approach from that document, but it really is down to that single-page brand brief in the end.
What do you think sets apart a great designer from a good one?
The real difference is a designer that can truly understand the brief and truly know all of the possible outcomes of where their creative decision will take them. Because some designers may output something that looks great and it's a really great concept and it could work, but actually, who's it for and how does it answer that brief? And I think the best designers that we've had working with us really understand every facet of the project, and they probably also surprise us. And you're like, have you guys thought about this? For me, that's what makes it an amazing designer across, whether it's packaging, web, interior. It's just that thoughtfulness.
I think it's also someone who stretches, who really pushes the constraints of the brief, is aware of the boundaries of the brief, but exists on the edges of it. So that's when we can really get work that stands out, where it's just about to be going too far. And I think that's what David Bowie said that once. So he talked about creativity in music. He's always trying to get very close to this boundary of it's almost unacceptable, but it's just on the edges of being like, when you create it, it should feel like, oh, I'm not sure about this. It's a bit, I'm a bit uncertain. Maybe it's a bit too much. Maybe it's a bit. So I think where it is on that very edge of the brief, I think that's a great designer.
Looking back on your journey, what is the most valuable design lesson you have learned?
The only rule is not ignore the brief. If anyone is to ignore the brief, you're going to waste your time and your client's time.
Sometimes the best creative weapon isn't a technique or a tool. It's the person working alongside you. Complete trust can push creative boundaries. You recently launched a brand like this marketplace for ready-made brand identities. This seems like a completely different model from traditional agency work. What motivated you to create this platform?
The first thing was realizing that from a client's perspective, when they go on that journey to have a new piece of packaging, a new website, a new brand, whatever it is, it's difficult to trust an agency, and they put a lot of budget down without actually receiving anything that comes close to a very final design. What brands like these does, it takes all of that worry out from the client perspective. They can see exactly the brand that they're going to have at the end, because the idea is that there's brands on there from all types of sectors. They find something they like, they click it, they say, yeah, that's mine, sold, it goes off the market, and then we'll do the edits that are needed. So like changing the name, or if there's any color palette changes that are required, and then that's theirs forever. So I think it really answers that problem. For the designers, it solves a problem of digital waste. For a lot of designers, they may produce 3 concepts for a brand or a piece of packaging, and 2 of those concepts go to waste. They might get used another time, but this is an opportunity to sell those concepts. But moreover, it's for the passion projects. So every year we created 1 or 2 concept projects that we put out there into the world, and they did bring us back lots of work. So it's an opportunity to sell those passion projects without any creative constraints. It's democratizing design in many ways. I would love to get to a point where brands like these is one of the most creative places on the planet to find a brand, because they've been created just from a designer's own internal brief.
Can you explain how the curation process works? You mentioned it's not just a generic portfolio bazaar, but a curated collection from the world's most audacious brand designers.
For now, the curation process will just literally be our team reviewing the projects. If it doesn't pass the kind of Lyon Lyon bar, so if we wouldn't put it out as an agency, then it won't go on brands like these.
If you've got a startup client with a very small budget, and to them, what might be available will be perhaps an AI solution or Canva, or maybe a freelancer or Fiverr or something. There's two things that are distinct about the BLT stuff that brands like these. One is that it's totally unique, so it's a one-off piece of work. Whilst it's not truly bespoke from a strategy point of view, we're talking about work that you can see and buy immediately and get it customized. And obviously there's a huge time saving as well. One thing that's come up actually with a lot of designers is, doesn't this devalue the design process? And from our perspective, it doesn't. It just gives them another choice.
The agencies can also apply their work. So there's opportunity on the other side for them to make money where they couldn't before.
Matt and Ben, I have a proposal for you. Let's play a game. As you are aware, a table tennis table is often found in creative studios. Here's how it works. I will ask you a series of quick questions, and you will need to choose between two concepts. So, ready for Branderman's ping pong?
Yes, sir.
We are designers or we are consultants?
Designers.
Closed brief or blue sky brief?
Close brief. I think a constraint is amazing. You have to be creative in the smallest space.
Creative strategist or strategic designer?
Strategic designer.
If it's me, creative strategist, yeah. But if it's the agency, strategic designers.
A creation project or a redesign project?
I think redesigns are more challenging and more rewarding.
Focus groups or gut feelings?
Gut feelings. 9 times out of 10, we've used focus groups before, and even the clients don't listen to them. They'll be like, yeah, it's good to hear, but we're going to stick with it. I think you just know, like, it's great for balance and perspective, but if you really feel for something, you'll go for it.
Mass market or premium market?
Mass market, because we want to touch as many people as we can with design. So doing something that everyone will see in a space that is bland and gigantic is a challenge. And hopefully it has a sustainable side. So if you can do sustainability en masse, then that's brilliant. Yep.
Big established brands or small emerging brand?
Small emerging brands. If you look at our portfolio, that's what it's about. It's about that energy. We would love a mix of both, but I think if we're being honest with ourselves, that's where we are.
Conceptualization or execution?
Execution, because the conceptualization should already be fully done. Without a final execution that's great, what's the point?
For me, it's the opposite. I agree, but personally, as a designer, I just love the conceptualization stages. I think it's where we all have the most fun and where there's the most risk.
You can see here now we're disagreeing a little bit, which is good.
Label design or bottle design?
Oh,
Bottle.
ooh, bottle, yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Just because there's more, a label's cool, but creating a new form factor and a new silhouette is really, really cool.
Form follows function or form follows emotion?
I think because of our kind of product design background, it has to be form follows function. But we are very emotional designers. So I'm sure emotion plays a big part. But yeah, I think I would say form follows function.
Leading designers or continuing to design all your life?
We're years and years ago, we stopped being designers as such. Our team are much better designers than we are in terms of getting things on paper and making them look good. We have the ideas and the strategy behind things, but yeah, many years ago that stopped.
Remote work or face-to-face work?
We're so used to remote work. It's just second nature to us.
but it's a joy when face-to-face does happen.
packaging of another agency that you would have liked to have designed?
Cool.
Oh, there's so many. I don't know if you know Nendo Studio. It's a Japanese studio, and they make incredible sculptural pieces. I think I would also wish that we probably own Teenage Engineering, the way that they create their products and the thinking behind it. And obviously the way they package it is great, but just that level of beautiful craftsmanship.
And finally, great designers are born or great designers are made?
We're all born curious, but what happens next is then, do we keep that curious nature and that want to try different things and experiment and have true creative expression? So yeah, I think designers are born perhaps at first, but then need to, it disappears somewhere along the line and need to be made.
What is the worst design crime you have ever seen or perhaps committed?
It's the packaging of these kids' toys. For example, there's like a dinosaur egg, which you unwrap it first of all, and then you crack this thing open, and then there's another 20 pieces of single-use packaging inside of these things. That's a design crime on two levels. It's a design crime from the toy designer's perspective, and then the choice in which they use to package it, because it just promotes like this overconsumption. And actually, because we both have kids, when the kids play with these things, the joy is just around the unwrapping. It's not about the actual interaction with that piece. It doesn't teach them anything. It just teaches them to be consumers. And for me, that is if we're talking put someone in jail and a crime, just think those are absolutely terrible things. I wish they were not on the planet.
We should put the designer inside the egg.
Yeah. The designer inside the egg, and anyone involved in the project goes in. Unwrap them at some point.
What trends do you anticipate shaping the future of our industry? How do you imagine the term package design will evolve?
We just try and stay clear of trends. We just ignore really what's happening in that way. I'm sure stuff hits us by through osmosis. We're not an agency that wants to create work that hits a certain trend because that has only a short lifespan. However, obviously the big question right now in a lot of industries, and especially in the creative industry, is where do we go with AI and how do we work with it? There's certainly no question that AI is coming, like it's here and it is definitely here to stay. So I think for us, it's about how do we use it in a way that is ethical, and what does that mean for the industry? Does it mean that the sort of smaller jobs will be lost through AI? It is like the big thinking from creative agencies, the last thing that's going to be taken, if you know what I mean. We actually did a project recently where we had a very short timeline and a very small budget. And we thought it'd be a great opportunity to use AI, but in a way that was thoughtful. So it was for this folklore and fire and feasting festival. So there's a lot of interesting visuals with that. And we wanted this kind of handmade, like lino type approach. We did lots of inspiration, a great brief. Our designer, Sam, went straight into, he didn't draw anything. He just got a scalpel and some paper and started cutting out shapes that fit the brief, and then put that into AI to grow that bank of shapes and set that style. And then we're very quickly able to put together a set of illustrations that work really well with this brief. So I can see for us, it's just really playing with AI and working out how it can make us more efficient, more adventurous, and more creative.
What is something that people don't know about you that if they did, they would be surprised?
That we're not actually twins. It's just a marketing ploy. We used to be quite serious fashion models. In the sense that, I say serious, we were never serious, but we were in Italian Vogue, British Vogue, and we did lots of kind of high art magazines and campaigns and things like that. We met some really interesting people on that journey. We were involved in that creative process with them on the shoots as a voice, which is nice. So yeah, it really helped our kind of early creative process, I think. I think it gave us an idea of who we want to work with there as well, because there's a lot of bullshit in the fashion industry. There is in many industries, I'm sure, but even at a young age, we were in there for 2 or 3 years and we're like, oh, okay, this is not for us. We were the guys that were quite honest and northern and fun, and it just didn't really resonate with us too much.
What do you think of the designer you are when you look in the mirror?
How come I'm owning a business and using spreadsheets rather than sitting there crafting something on paper? That's what I say. think if you ask that question to our past selves as well, we'd be very surprised about where we are now. Fresh out of university, you guys are going to own a really successful agency together that's going to challenge how branding works. So if we look in the mirror, I think that's a really positive outlook in that sense.
Great. Hey guys, what is the most important thing on your to-do list for your professional life? What is your next adventure?
It would be great to be even more remote. So I think we could do more internationally and just spend more time, for example, in like a month in Mexico, bring the kids. That would be beautiful. I just think, that is a goal for sure.
I think for me, it's about being even more refined with who and the kind of projects that we work with. And in particular, brands that are doing good, but at mass scale. We work with Who Gives a Crap, a toilet paper company that gives back. And it was a great project and it has a lot of visibility. So for us, I think it's more about the effort and care we put into our work. It would be to see that work seen by more people and for it to have more effect.
Matt and Ben, thank you for this fantastic conversation and for sharing your journey from your beginnings as supermodels to becoming innovators in the branding space. Your approach to balancing creativity with purpose is unique, twin dynamic, and project like brand like this. I think they show that agencies can evolve and create positive impact while also maintaining their creative edge. So keep inspiring us with your good work.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to be part of this, buddy. Really appreciate it.
I hope you have enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. You can check the episode notes for all the relevant links. I also invite you to follow me on Instagram and on my website, branderman.design. Follow the podcast in your favorite app so you don't miss the next episode of Branderman, the podcast where we try to uncover how to make a positive impact on consumers, the market, and society through package design.